Me now is Nihad Awad, the Executive Director of the Council on Islamic Relations. Sir, do you agree with what that leader of Hezbollah said about these killings by terrorists have done more harm to Islam than anything else in history?
Absolutely, and this is what our religion says all along. And let me just also quote a very important thing. Although these three terrorists claimed to have said, or allegedly they have said, that they avenged the Prophet Muhammad, I would say they have avenged their egos, their little brains, because they seem to be illiterate about Islam and what the Quran says about mockery. The mockery is there. We expect it from people who sometimes, poke fun at the religion, and this is not new to us. It's not new to the Quran. Even to the Prophet, peace be upon him himself, he was addressed in the Quran that when they mock you, just be patient. Be patient over what they say about you or to you. And even in a very clear statement in the Quran, chapter 25, verse 63, it says to the believers that when the ignorant address, they say peace. So our response to mockery is peaceful response, not killing and not avenge as these individuals have done. So yes, they have deviated from the religion that I and 1.6 billion people believe and live it. And therefore, yes, they have been deviated. And I agree with the President of France that they have nothing to do with our faith that's lived by, as I said, by millions of people around the world, including 5 million in France and millions others in the U.S. and in Europe.
We just heard the President of France say that these attacks had nothing to do with Islam at all. The killers, the terrorists themselves say that is not true, that's exactly the point. And I want to read what Sharif Karachi said and actually quote him. Today, what he said over the phone. He said, "We are not killers. We defend the Prophet. We don't kill women. We kill no one. We defend the Prophet. We kill people who insult him." He said, "This isn't us. We have an honor code in Islam." Now, I think some of the confusion comes based on what you just said. The Quran does not support that statement, but that is not the only guidance that religious Muslims have. There is also Sharia law, and there are those who insist that Sharia law does indeed call for the death penalty for anyone who draws an image of Muhammad.
This is completely ridiculous. There is no such thing that's called Sharia law, either Sharia or law, because the two mean the same thing. And those derived from the Quran do not ever say that you should kill people who mock you or disagree with you, because the basis of my faith is freedom. It is a very clear verse in the Quran, in chapter 256, chapter 2nd, that let there be no compulsion in religion. This is the foundation of my faith, that you cannot compel people to be like you or to believe like you or to believe in what you believe. And therefore, they have to be free. The way you are free. You cannot impose your faith, tradition, and your thinking on other people. So I do not know where they invented and they came up with this notion that you have to kill those who disagree with you or those who do not believe in your faith.
Can I ask you, are you saying that there are competing versions of Sharia around the world, that someone in London might say Sharia requires this, someone in Syria might say something else, and someone in Michigan might say Sharia does not require any of those things?
Absolutely,
okay.
Lawrence. Again, look, there's 1.6 to 1.7 billion people around the world. Do you see them committing violence around the world? We're talking about only maybe a few hundred, few thousands who misunderstand, misinterpret, or taking things out of context. And this happens in many faith traditions. It is not only new to Muslims, and it's not limited to us Muslims.
Well, what doesn't happen in any other faith traditions in the world today is there are no other faith traditions in the world that are going out and killing people for cartoons or drawings about any religious figures. That magazine had done drawings of the Pope. There's not a Catholic in the world who was motivated to even a violent thought about that, as far as we know. But I'm sorry, we're out of time for right now.
We're talking only about few individuals. We're not talking about 1.7 billion people.
But what we are not talking about is every or other religions in the world with this particular phenomenon.
You're talking only about few individuals.
Okay. Nihad Awad, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Coming up.